So when do you have to cut costs? When you've got to cut costs? Now. But this is more than just about cutting costs. This is about cutting costs in a way that you can still achieve your goals. So let's talk about it. What does that mean? There's two things that everyone seems to agree on when it comes to money. No, everyone wants to make more of it. And then no. Two, everyone wants to spend less of it. Now, the reason why these two are kind of seen as mutually exclusive is because generally when you're retrying to make more money, you end up spending more money. There's an investment required to be able to earn more money. Let me explain. If you're an employee working for somebody else, making more money often means getting a promotion or getting a pay raise. Now, generally, to get a pay raise, you need to increase your value to the organization. And so maybe that means going and taking courses to enhance the skills that you have that will make you more valuable to your employer. Or maybe it means moving to a new city, or even a new state, or a new country, where they pay more for the role that you're in. Or maybe it means starting to work weekends or working late into the evenings to really prove yourself to your company so that you can get that next raise. The point is, if you're trying to make more money and you're employed by someone else, it usually means you've got to invest some time or energy into doing more to be able to get that raise or get that promotion. However, if you're self-employed, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, then the equation looks very different, because here, you don't have to trade your time for money. Instead, you have to create systems that can generate money without you being involved in the day-to-day operations. So what that means is, you can actually free up your time and you can enjoy life more. But let us take a step back for a moment and focus on that first part of the equation, which is, when do you need to cut costs? Well, according to my dictionary, the definition of cut costs is reducing expenses to increase profitability. But there's other times where you might want to reduce your expenses and increase your cash flow. Maybe you're facing a temporary reduction in income. So maybe you've been in a car accident and you've damaged your vehicle and you're not able to go to work anymore. And you need to make sure you have enough cash flow to pay your bills. Or maybe you're going through a divorce and you're worried about having enough money coming in. Or maybe you've just got bad financial habits and you want to start improving those. Whatever the reason may be, you need to make sure that you've got a plan in place so that you can deal with any unexpected situations that come your way. And the best way to do that is to have enough cash savings to cover your fixed expenses for 3 to 6 months. If you can maintain that, then you're going to be in a good position to weather any storms that come your way. So how do you cut costs? You cut costs by looking at all of your expenses and categorizing them based on whether they're essential or not. Now, essential expenses are things like rent or mortgage payments, utility bills, food and transportation. Non-essential expenses are things like eating out, entertainment, clothing, and travel. Now, the key thing to remember here is that you do want to cut essential expenses unless you absolutely have to. After all, you need somewhere to live. You need to eat, so only cut essential expenses if you absolutely have to. But non-essential expenses, these are the things that you should look at cutting first. And there's plenty of ways that you can cut back on these things. Maybe you could cook more meals at home instead of eating out, or maybe you could find free or low-cost entertainment options. Maybe you could shop around for better deals on things like insurance or cable TV. And if you really had to, you could downsize your living arrangements. So if you've got a 3-bedroom house and you don't need it, maybe you could move into a smaller place. The point is, there's plenty of ways that you can cut back on your non-essential expenses without sacrificing your quality of life. And yes, you should also look at cutting your variable expenses. These are things like subscriptions, memberships, gym fees, those sort of things. But before we move on, I want to remind you why you're doing this. It's not worth cutting back on your quality of life in order to save a few bucks. Cutting back should only be done as a temporary measure until you get back on your feet again. The goal is not to become a penny pincher. The goal is simply to get through a tough time without going into debt. However, what you should not be doing is cutting back on investments. And the reason why you should not be cutting back on investments is because that's how you're going to grow your wealth over time. So you shouldn't be cutting back on things like retirement contributions, education savings plans for your kids or your grandkids, health insurance premiums, or anything else that can help you grow your wealth. In fact, if you're in a position where you can keep investing, even during tough times, you're going to be in a great position to come out ahead when the economy recovers. And that's exactly what happened during the Great Recession of 2008. A study found that people who kept investing throughout the recession were able to make more money than those who tried to time the market. Okay, so when do you need to cut costs? Well, anytime you're facing a financial emergency, you need to cut costs. Anytime you want to increase your savings rate, you need to cut costs. And anytime you want to pay off debt faster, you need to cut costs. And the best way to cut costs is to start by cutting back on non-essential expenses. So those are things like eating out, entertainment, clothing, and travel. And it's not just about cutting back on expenses. It's also about increasing your income. Maybe you could pick up a side hustle or ask for a raise at work. If you're able to increase your income, you'll have more money left over to save or invest. So here's a summary of when you need to cut costs. No. 1. When you're facing a financial emergency. No. 2. When you want to increase your savings rate. And no. 3. When you want to pay off debt faster. Remember, cutting back on expenses is only one piece of the puzzle. You also need to make sure that you're increasing your income as well. So if you're able to do both of those things, you'll be in a great position to achieve your financial goals. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.